Hi all, Graham here, and something a little bit different. This time I speak with Alex of Wargames Hobby, a good mate of mine, and we're talking about Lion Rampant. We played a very large game, a 72-point game, and it provoked some questions. So I thought we'd just have a quick chat and share the chat with you. I kind of ballsed up the intro a little bit to the chat, and it was so bad it was funny, so I thought I'd leave it in and you can watch it. So apologies about that, but we do get into it quite quickly. Anyway, here it is. Right, let's get my legs stretched out properly. Right, hello everybody. Today, this is something a little bit different. I've got Alex of Wargames Hobby, or is it Hobby Wargames?
Wargames Hobby.
Wargames Hobby. He's got a fantastic YouTube resource. We both play at Farnborough Wargames Club. So that's kind of the background of it already. Our main interest today is Lions Rampant.
Lion Rampant.
I always get that fucking wrong.
Start again.
I'll start again. Okay. Right, sit up properly again. Don't look fat. I tell you, I always look fat when I lean, when I slouch, so I have to roll my shoulders back. Otherwise, I've got this big belly coming out. Well, that's all right for you. You can carry it. You're an athlete. Hi, everybody. Graham here. I hope you're all well. Today, I've got Alex of Wargames Hobby, YouTube fame.
Thank you, Graham.
That's all right, my pleasure. We are both members at Farnborough Wargames Club, and we do most of our gaming there. And we have a common interest. Common interest is Lion Rampant, not Lions Rampant, as I keep saying. If you follow my channel, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we played a very large game of Lion Rampant. We played a 72-point aside game. Stomach in. Take 3. Right, hello everybody. Hello everybody, Graham here. And something a little bit different. I've got Alex today of Wargames Hobby fame, YouTube giant, and massive Lion Rampant influencer. One of the biggest out there.
I don't know about that.
Well, I don't know.
We play a lot though, don't we?
We do play a lot, and you, to be fair to you, you do some nice analysis of the game, which is well beyond me, which is why we're here today. Alex and I both play at Farnborough Wargames Club. We play a variety of games, mostly skirmish games, which is kind of the point of today, really. We play, obviously, mostly Lion Rampant, a bit of Saga, Xenon's Rampant we've tried, and we tried playing smaller games.
Women's Lament, which is part of the Rampant series. Yeah.
Exactly. So we played Muskets and Tomahawks,
Yep.
Another one, you know, a bit of bolt action. We've tried all these smaller scale games. Now, when we war game, in an ideal world, what we want is to play on a 6 foot by 4 foot table, and you want to have lots of figures on there. And that's kind of our end goal, is to get as many on the table as possible, not cram it full, but, you know, and have as more
Yeah, just make it. I mean, that's what the hobby's all about, isn't it? Painting up figures, making the table look nice, and having a good game with not too complicated rules.
Ooh.
I like simple rules.
Oh.
My brain can't cope with complex rules now.
The point being is that most of the games we play are skirmish, and for a reason, because, you know, we haven't got large armies. We're not prolific at painting, and this is a way of playing with them. So today's topic is that we played, a couple of weeks ago, we played a 72-point Lion Rampant game at the club using our 100 Years Wars armies, which was great. And it was a 2-player versus 2-player. We played it on a, was it?
8 by 6.
8 by 6.
Yeah.
We played on an 8 foot by 6 foot table. And what we were trying to do was just, as I say, trying to get more figures on the table. Normally we would play with 40 figures, but we had 80 to 100 per side. That's probably fair, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is getting towards where we want to. I've tried in the past playing Hail Caesar with 2/3 armies, I've tried with Wayne. I've tried Sword Point. We played a smaller game, again with smaller armies, but than the standard that you would normally get. So we're trying to find ways of using both our armies to get more figures on the table and see if we can adapt Lion Rampant in particular to work to that format.
For big battles, really.
Yeah, for effect, isn't it? It's great, isn't it?
And does it work? Yeah.
Does it work? So if you saw the video, I thought, as a fun evening game, there was no problems with it. I lost, or Neil and I lost, which wasn't quite so good, but that's another story.
Fun for me.
Fun for you. So, okay, so the one thing we didn't do in the game, I know there's a rule in Lion Rampant, is you can do group moves, can't you? Explain that to me.
Yeah, we haven't used it much because in a smaller game, I suppose there's no necessity to do so. But yeah, group moves is where you can move, for example, 2 units instead of 1. But obviously, if you fail, both units don't move. If you decide to move 3 units, then if the normal movement is 5, it becomes 6. So it's harder to do if it's 3. If it becomes 4, it goes up another one as well. So really, a group move's only ideal if you want to move 2 units because it's the same dice roll to achieve that, to move a single unit or 2 units. But if once you get bigger than that, then the chances get worse that they will actually move.
So, okay, so as an example then, you've got 2 units of knights, elite cavalry.
Yeah.
If they're moving and not charging, you need a 7+.
They do.
So you roll a 7+ for both units.
Yeah. You only roll once and then both units can move up. So
what happens then?
If you want to make sure they stay together, it's worth doing both, rolling for both units with 1 dice. But of course, if it fails, then both units have failed and that's it.
So, okay, what about then if you're moving a line of foot up and you've got some crossbow that are moving on 6s and you've got some heavy infantry that are moving on 5s to activate to move?
Yeah.
How would you do that?
You take the worst one.
So you take the worst one.
Both have to move at 6.
Could you do more than 2 units?
You could. You could do, say, a unit of crossbows and 2 units of heavy infantry, but instead of moving on 6 then, because it's 3, it becomes 7.
What about 4?
Then it would become 8. So the more you add on to it, the harder it's going to get to move them. So it's a bit risky.
So this is a little bit like those adapted activation rules I tried a few games ago, where if you fail, then you add +1. It's the same sort of thing, but before.
I suppose it is really, yeah.
It is, isn't it?
It's very similar, but it just penalises you. The main thing is that the bigger the force you're trying to move, the harder it is for the order maybe to get through to the units and all to activate at the same time. So they just penalise you if you get too big. Really, moving 2 units shouldn't be a problem because it's the same chance of failure or success. Because it's between 1 and 2 units. But once you add a 3rd unit, it becomes slightly harder. A 4th unit, harder still, and so on. And there comes a point where you obviously can't move too many.
You don't.
But in a big game, where for example, we often play, don't we, 36 points. Even if it's 1-to-1, we find 24 points in an evening is almost too small now. We know the rules quite well, and you can almost get 2 games on in an evening.
Yeah,
so now we've started using 36 points fairly regularly. The other thing we have changed, of course, is we used to use the re-roll method.
Yep.
And for 24 points, that works fine. But since we've been using 36 points, it's a bit more difficult. You've got a lot of units on the table. So what we've done is we've used the alternative method where we just roll through every unit, and once a unit fails, you just move on to the next unit. That seems to work with the bigger games. And of course, our game that we did, we have 72 points per side, so we had 2 people playing, but they both acted as individuals.
Yeah.
So I had my 36 points, and I was allied with Alan next to me, who had his 36 points as well. So we moved independently, if you like, but it was one big game.
But we'll get onto that in a bit.
But this is where it starts to get a bit messy, doesn't it?
So that group thing is something we can use a little bit more. I must admit, it's been a little bit off the radar, so it's something that's possible. I mean, you think about the other line, and you want to move more forward, and you move just 1 and 3 fail. frustrating. And then all of a sudden they're going to get shot by everything rather than sharing the love, let's just say.
So it's definitely worth moving to 2 units. I think that's definitely worth doing. And if you want to risk moving all 3, if you have got 3 units, you certainly don't want them to go off individually. Then you've just going to have to take the figure, whatever it is, for example.
The lower activation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it'll be a +1 because it's got 3.
Right, so we're in agreed. We need to try that. Second thing was the table size. I measured from we deployed, I think, a foot in, and I had 48 inches between me and Alan.
Yeah, we should have started a bit nearer.
It was too deep, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
It was too deep. So what would be the optimum distance between 2 front lines? 24 inches?
I think so, yeah. You see, we wanted to have the width because we've got 4 armies on the table effectively. Yeah. And we felt, on a 6x4, it just would have been too small. So we wanted the extra width, but it also gave us the extra depth as well. But we shouldn't have allowed that. We should have actually started a lot nearer.
Thinking about another set of rules, Saga, they have an option called Epic, and you can play on a 6 foot wide table, but it's still only 3 foot deep.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, and I think this is the same reason. So we should really learn from that a little bit.
Yeah, we made a bit of an error there. We should have started closer.
Which allowed Alan with his longbow to shoot the crap out of me as I walked onto his guns, which was...
Although the range of, you still got to, the first couple of moves were spent manoeuvring and advancing, weren't we, really?
Yeah.
But it did slow the game up a bit unnecessarily, so we should have started a bit closer.
Okay, so the next thing, and this is the big one for me really, was that when we played, it felt like almost the game was 2, and you alluded to it earlier, 2 1v1s.
Yeah,
which is kind of how it played.
Yeah.
Now, which is fine from a gaming point of view. Everybody's involved, everybody controls their own figures. But if you wanted to make the game, Lions Rampant is not a realistic reenactment of a battle. We appreciate
battle, no.
It's not. It's a tabletop game. But the question is, could we have changed how, rather than having 36 points each exactly, could we have manipulated the armies in what we control to make it more of a holistic one battle rather than 2 battles side by side?
Yeah.
And what I was going to say to you was, would it be possible, do you think it would work if one person, say, commanded all the cavalry and one person commanded all the infantry? Could it work?
It'd be interesting to find out. I think it would stop this me playing Neil and you playing Alan.
Yeah.
Because that would happen. I've noticed in other rules the same happened. You can have a big game, but you end up fighting the person right across from you. The only way to stop that would be to do like you've just suggested. Maybe if we're on the same side, you handle all the infantry and I'll handle all the cavalry.
Yeah.
And then you would be moving around. I just wonder though whether it might get a bit disjointed, because then I'll be fighting 2 people effectively because I've got cavalry both sides of the table. But I think it's worth a try because it might be interesting to see whether that does work better than a 2v2 game being in fact 2 1v1 games, which is what always happens.
The good thing about Lion Rampant is that the games are played quite quickly. In truth, a typical 36 point game is over in 2 hours, mostly. And we've got time in an evening to play that, I think, and I think it'd be worth giving it a go.
I think it will. I think it'd be an interesting experiment to see whether it works or not. Then we can report back to the guys.
I think it'll be interesting to see if it worked. It might feel a little bit more like a typical war game rather than 2 1v1s across the table.
Yeah, it's worth a try, definitely. I do think that when you've got. I remember once we had a big game. We reenacted Waterloo down the club. We had about 18 people playing.
Yeah, I remember it.
But it ended up to be 9 different games of individuals fighting each other. And it's impossible, really. Although you did in your game, when we played that game last week, you used one of your units of knights. You were attacking Alan, but you decided to try and take out my mounted longbow, didn't you?
Well, I did.
You did.
I did. I take him out.
And then you reverted back to your side of the table because you needed those troops. But so we did interact a little bit between the 2 sides, but it was just your knights that did that.
I had to, didn't I? It was a juicy target, Alex. It was low hanging fruit.
You couldn't resist it, could you?
It was low hanging fruit. Okay, well, listen, we'll try that. Yeah. And see what we can do. In general, I'm interested in larger battles. So I've tried the epic games in Saga.
and they are quite slow. They're longer than a 3.5 hour game if you play a 16-point game. The Hail Caesar, again, it's another experiment that I want to pursue, playing a 2/3 sized game on a table. And again, Sword Point with Wayne, I want to try that as well. So let's see what we can do, and
It'll be interesting.
a little experiment in the next
will.
6 months.
We'll do it.
If anybody has any ideas or thoughts on this, how we can play bigger games, certainly in Lion Rampant, and even downsizing Hail Caesar a little bit, or Sword Point, or any of the other games that we play on the channels, Alex's channel as well, then obviously pop it in the comments and we'll have a look and see what we can do. Okay, Alex, thank you for your
Thanks, Greg.
for your fantastic knowledge that you have, and we'll have a go and see what we can do.
That'd be good.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
See you guys.
Firstly, thank you very much for watching this. If you've got any thoughts about the content, what we reviewed, or anything different, please put it in the comments below. I'm really interested to know what you think on the larger type of game. Anyway, please like, subscribe, share with like-minded, take care, and see you all on the next video.